Welcome back. Every vehicle is a vehicle. To include new and easier permitting rules, so says Democrat Senator Joe Manchin, who told me exclusively this week he is in the process of setting up a meeting with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy to come to an agreement on spending cuts to rein in America's record $31.5 trillion in debt, while also unleashing new permitting rules and potentially opening up the Mountain Valley Pipeline. The West Virginia senator joined me in Davos, Switzerland at the World Economic Forum this week, where he began with the U.S. reaching its debt limit this past week.
I think what we have to do is realize that we have a problem. We have a debt problem. We're at 31.4 trillion of public debt right now. And all we're saying is, should we not make sure that we all recognize how we got there? How we prevent from going further?
The Republicans say that they would like to go back to 2022 spending levels. If you go back to 2022 spending levels, that's a $75 billion cut in defense spending. Are you willing to cut defense, or is defense spending off the table?
Let me just make very clear. I'm committed to supporting Ukraine through this horrible, horrible war that they're in. And I'm determined, and a lot of my colleagues, Democrats, Republicans, are both determined. You can't start cutting back on the defense spending that we have right now. We need it more than ever right now with the geopolitical unstableness of the world.
And you've also got China rising. There's
China
that.
Continues. Yeah, we know we have challenges there. And the bottom line is it's the United States is the only superpower left in the world, identifiable superpower. And basically because we're the defender of freedom and democracies. And we have a role that's responsible.
But the White House says there's no negotiation. The debt ceiling will go up, and they're not going to discuss any options. Should the White House be sitting down with you, with your colleagues, with Kevin McCarthy, to come up with areas to cut?
I think they will. I really do. I know there's so much rhetoric that comes out that we got, and I think everyone knows we cannot default on our debt in the United States of America. The faith and will, full faith in of the government and the Treasury that we're going to pay our debts.
Why do we always get to this fiscal cliff? I mean, it's awful, right? I mean, you have all of this time to negotiate, to identify areas to cut, and then next thing we know, we're up against the debt ceiling, and we have to talk about a government shutdown.
Well, let's talk about the states. The states. I was a governor of West Virginia. We have balanced budget amendments. Balanced budget. At the end of the year, I had to be balanced. Every week, I would sit down with our finances, and we would find out what adjustments we had to make, and we would make small adjustments during the course of the year. We didn't wait till the end of the year and say, "Oh, here we are. Got a big debt now. We got to pay for it. So let's go ahead and just." We made the adjustments, so we never got there. It's different because the federal government has a whole different role with all the responsibilities. I understand that, but you can still be fiscally responsible. We have not been fiscally responsible.
And to be fiscally responsible, you need a budget. Has Congress come up with a budget?
Well, we haven't passed one. We've come up with a lot of them. We haven't passed it. Both administrations, no matter who the president's been, their budgets has not been basically accepted. They haven't been voted on.
Senator, I want to turn to your priorities. You, as the chair of the Energy and Natural Resources Committee, you've been pursuing this package of reforms that would address transmission backlogs, permitting, the Mountain Valley Pipeline, while making it easier to get the drilling projects done through the permitting. You expected that to happen in exchange for your help in getting the massive Inflation Reduction Act through last year, but it didn't happen. What happened?
Well, let me just say this, that first of all, the Inflation Reduction Act was done with me and my committee. We
wrote it.
We wrote the bill. And we did that because we had the expertise and the ability to do it, and I'm chairman of the Energy Committee. We didn't make that acknowledgeable, and the whole legislative process and all my colleagues didn't even know we were working on it. And the reason why, I didn't think they would do it. I did not think that would be supported because I said, listen, I do not subscribe that you can eliminate your way to a cleaner environment. I subscribe that you can innovate your way to a cleaner, less carbon. But you're going to recognize you've got to have the horsepower to run the country. And I got when I went absolutely crazy when I saw that the administration was looking at Iran to produce more oil, we're lifting the sanctions. I said, it's the most prolific terror supporter in the world, and you're going to give them more money to wreak more havoc on humans?
And then Venezuela?
Venezuela does not have very good environmental standards whatsoever. We never did talk to the North Slope. We never did talk to the Permian Basin. We never talked to Alberta. These are our major suppliers, and we have the ability to be energy independent. So this whole piece of legislation was designed for energy security, for the superpower of the world not to depend on foreign supply chains, for us to run our country and to help our allies around the world as they need it. So that's what it's based around, but it was sold as an environmental bill. Well, I said, for a 10-year period, we had a two-track in that bill. We're going to basically be very, very strong as far as how we produce our fossil, whether it be oil, gas, and coal. It's still needed. And as we transition, we're going to do that cleaner than anywhere in the world. And we're going to invest in new technologies. Hydrogen has not been, and we never matured that. And we have small nuclear reactors now that work and they're very safe, low pressure. A lot of things that we can do. Battery storage we have to do. As we're capturing all this renewable energy, we don't have a chance to bring it back when we need it. We have to use it or lose it.
So were you misled on that?
I never,
in terms of the permitting promise?
No, the permitting was part of the bill. Everybody agreed to that. But then because of the reconciliation, it never fit into that because it didn't have money tied to it. That was only strictly policy.
Well, the Republicans say that it does not reduce inflation. You know that.
Well, it's gone from 9% to 6.5. We've done something. It sure hasn't increased inflation.
It has come off of the highs, that's right. But the Committee for a Responsible Budget says that this administration and the Democrats have borrowed more than $5 trillion in just 2 years. And here we are up against the debt ceiling. I mean, where is the negotiation in terms of cutting wasteful spending? How much wasteful spending was in the IRA?
Well, no, IRA...
There was no wasteful spending in the Inflation Reduction Act?
The Inflation Reduction Act, here's what it did, and people don't recognize this either. We took, for drugs, shouldn't Medicare be allowed to negotiate for lower drug prices? Medicaid does it. VAs do it. The Veterans Administration does it. Why shouldn't that? That was a tremendous savings. It basically put a cap. It will in the next 2 years cap all Medicare expenditures at $2,000 out of pocket, $35 for insulin. These are things that we thought was very good, and a lot of my Republican friends did too. My Republican colleagues, the IRA, the energy portion of that bill, I'd worked with them for 5 years on it.
The energy portion, exactly. But other things in
the other things on that, as far as no more checks are being sent. Okay?
No more stimulus checks.
I cannot. I said, no, we've done enough. And on that there, so...
Was that part of the reason that inflation went to 40-year highs, all of that stimulus?
Well, we had COVID was probably the biggest driving force of that, if you want to be honest with it, because it changed the whole world. The whole world went to inflation. But inflation was something we warned very early. I told them.
You did.
We have pent-up desires to spend because we put a lot of money out.
Should there be a cap on spending now for the next fiscal year?
You have to put this. The whole Bowles-Simpson approach was, yes, you have to be disciplined.
Have you spoken to Kevin McCarthy about a negotiation in terms of supporting
Kevin and I, we spoke earlier, and I said, Kevin, we're going to sit down when I go back and look at, is there a pathway forward? Is there a pathway in bipartisan, bicameral? Both of them come, not in one going one direction, one going the other and fighting it out in conferees and everything. So hopefully that we can recognize that we have a runaway debt. We recognize we're all responsible. This bill basically says for 10 years you have certainty that you're going to have leases and permits to do the extraction of the fossil that we need, but you have to do it cleaner using methane capturing, using carbon capture sequestration and utilization, and perfecting that more that we haven't done. But with that, and then on the other, you're going to have the investments. But you can't do out a wind farm in the Gulf unless we're extracting.
Yeah.
It's tied together.
When will we see this show up again, this bill? When do you expect to get the energy security?
Well, what we're watching very closely right now is how the administration and their agencies are starting to put the rules. I have a big disagreement with Treasury right now and Secretary Yellen. I respect her immensely. She's a friend. But the way they're proposing the rules on EVs, Maria, what they were doing, this administration and let's say the world wanted to switch to EVs. That's fine. It's a wonderful vehicle. People love them. The bottom line is we were going to change our transportation mode for the first time in the history of the United States of America and depend and be reliable on foreign supply chains, mainly China, for the anodes and cathodes that make the battery, manufacturing the battery. So I said, if we're going to do that, then I'm not in. I'm not voting for this. But if you want to develop a battery manufacturing and sourcing of rare earth minerals from North America and from our free trading agreement countries that we have, then we have control that we don't have to worry about supply chains being cut. that's what we've done.
Senator, your colleague Kirsten Sinema recently changed party affiliation to become an independent. A lot of people thought that you were leaning toward the same thing after.
I've been independent all my life.
Yes, you have.
The Democrats don't claim me. Republicans get mad at me at times.
But are you still considering changing affiliations?
You know, I think about all these things. And basically, how my.
Would you become a Republican?
Well, you know, they wouldn't be any happier with me. So the thing of it is that I'm fiscally responsible and socially compassionate, which I think most Americans are.
That's what most Americans are.
They really are in this middle. So where is this middle? Who's representing the middle? If there's a way that I can basically be a voice to the middle, that's what I want to be. And I think that whether it's the Democrats, they can't pressure me to the point I'm going to do things that make no sense.
So should we be supporting investing in Chinese companies that are tied to the Chinese military, for example? The Thrift Fund, opening it up to all of these investments in Chinese companies. What are your thoughts on that?
There's anything I would say about if you're wanting to have an open trading system or an open economy, then let's see what they allow us to do. Let's see what they're allowing us to do in their government, in their country. And you'll see it's much more restrictive, trying to do what they want to do in our country to what they're able to do. They're taking advantage of an open society, a democracy. They do not have an open society.
They're communists.
They do not have a democracy. And basically, they're all responsible to report to central government. That's something that's completely scary to us and foreign to us. That's why they have not become an equal superpower, because of people not having that access. You know, we have allies, and we have allies that have the same quality and desires that we have. And that's good. How do we keep that together and make sure that we have the support and give them the support they need? America has to stay strong for the sake of the world.